we'll talk a little bit about that. But yeah, let's get into it. This is the Better Books broadcast, the Know Your Numbers podcast with Chris McCormick, and we have a very special guest in Jared Galde. Jared is the founder, CEO of Impact CashFlow. Is that right? Did I just elevate your name a little bit? But
no,
Impact CashFlow is his company.
Certainly. Yep. You nailed it. Good work.
Amen. Well, yeah. So a little background: Jared and I got connected in the King's Council, which is a faith-based entrepreneur group. Highly recommend to all people looking to elevate their life. But Jared is a God-serving man, and he does so through the real estate industry. And his story has inspired me, and I thought it best to learn a little bit more about him through the podcast. So, Jared, welcome. How you doing? Explain a little bit about what you do, and we'll dive right into it.
Dig it, man. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me. Yeah, so my name is Jared Galde. I was born and raised in Northwest Washington, Marysville, Washington. I live on Camano Island right now. My mom was a real estate agent my entire life, and I think for a long time I just fought it mentally, like I was never going to get into real estate. And lo and behold, God had other plans. And so 2012, I got into real estate. Was a partner in my mom's brokerage here, and was a broker I still am a broker, I guess, but was an active full-time broker for a majority of the last 9 years, I guess. And I really got into investing about 5 years ago. Just wanted to dive into investing, and the reason I did that was because I was watching people I was serving a lot at church. I was doing like some real estate and serving a lot at church. And I was watching people kind of go broke spiritually and financially at church. And I decided that I was going to figure out how to make passive income in real estate so that I could serve at church and be a financial blessing at church. So that's what started that. And now, what God has done with that little vision is pretty cool. We buy houses at scale for recovering addicts, and we do pretty well at it, and provide affordable housing for people that really need it.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And every time you talk about it, it blows my mind that that's an option in the real estate world. But it's inspiring, and it is true. You can serve an underserved community and build wealth while doing it, and serve God all in the process. So it's awesome. And one thing that stuck out to me about you was this thing that you talk about a lot, and it's the unemotional about your numbers. And this being a numbers-based podcast that really excited me, and I'd love to learn a little bit more about you. What are the numbers that you are unemotional about, and how did you get to them, and what does that really mean?
Love it. Yeah, for me, math doesn't really have emotion, and so deals have emotion, people have emotion. There are all sorts of things that have emotion, but math doesn't really have emotion. So that's what we say, is that we're unemotional about numbers in our business, because that allows us to be emotional about people. If we make sure that the numbers work, then that allows us to really love them the way that God would intend, to where, if something's broke, we're going to fix it. If we can get out ahead of something with the house, if we can teach them something, we're going to do that. So we want to be dialed in on our numbers so that we can continue to serve like that. And we have to be profitable. There's multiple families in our business now that need to get paid for, so we have to be profitable. So we are unemotional about numbers so we can love on people.
That's awesome, man. And what are some of those numbers? Like, obviously profit is the priority. Are there any? I mean, cash flow comes to mind. Is anything else?
Yeah, so we're in a space where we've raised private equity, and we use that to go purchase single family homes to house these people. So a lot of our numbers are based on a cash on cash return. So we're looking to make sure that our investment capital going in has an annualized return that is attractive to both us and our investors. And that's the cash on cash is kind of where that starts. I'd say typically on a deal, the investment comes back every 5.5 years or so, we're looking at, cash on return just south of 20%. So.
Wow, that's awesome. And then how do you calculate that? Is it as easy as a spreadsheet, or is it something you
Yeah.
created? Yeah.
Yeah. It's as easy as a spreadsheet. We use QuickBooks for for everything for actuals, but as far as as far as actuals in property management, things like that, we use that for everything ongoing in the business. But it is as simple as a spreadsheet. When somebody gives me a house, I can plug it into a spreadsheet. I need to know typically we're doing very minimal rehab. We're adding something to the house so somebody else can sleep in a room, or egress window in the basement, or something in that regard. So our rehab is minimal on these houses, so we plug a number in for that. I'm pretty good at guesstimating that at this point. I can analyze a deal, and I just did one. I can analyze a deal in probably 45 seconds.
Wow.
Yep.
And how long has it taken you to do that?
Yeah,
Where'd you
yeah.
start?
This is like that age old meme where it's like you see the plumber down there. He's like, I know it took me 2 minutes to fix, but I trained for 30 years so that I can
Yeah.
fix that in 2 minutes, right? Yeah, no, 100%. That's as we call it in the King's Council, that's championship reps, right?
Right.
I've looked at a lot of deals, and I've run a lot of numbers, and I've done a lot of deals, and I've helped with a lot of deals, and that's just reps. And then when we get into a niche like we're doing, it's like we looked at how we were doing it, and looking at the more turnkey properties. And for me, I'd helped buy and sell so many on market properties and things like that, where I'd done that more than I'd done, flipping and things like that. And this is what we're looking at. So I just knew God had kind of prepared us for that. So when we were looking turnkey, then it was like, all right, really, we need to know what projected property taxes are, right? We're going to look at the rate, and we're going to look at that adjusted forward. And we're looking at that. We're looking at property tax and insurance, and we know our numbers on mortgage. So I can really punch it in pretty quick. Obviously, we spend a lot of time and due diligence and past that, but I can pretty much say yes on an offer within a minute.
Wow, that's awesome, man. You said turnkey, and one thing that I'm always curious about is how you can still find deals with a property that's been renovated and is ready to live in. Like, what's the secret there, if there is a secret, or what do you look for when it comes to those kind of investments?
Yeah, we have to use commercial loans because we have what a lot of lenders would consider an operator tenant. Like it's nothing like having like an adult family home where we have to have a staff in the house, anything like that. But they consider it to be an operator tenant. So basically we've got um, say the average Oxford house has 8.6 people in it. If those 8.6 people pay $600 a month, you're doing okay. You're doing better than market rent. So typically, just like buying a turnkey house, you have to find kind of a specialty market somewhere in the Midwest. I feel like if you're just going to rent it to a normal family and have it cash flow well as a turnkey house. But ours is really based on our tenant. Short story long, it's based on our tenant.
Yeah, right. So that's actually an interesting topic. So you're renting to a company, right? Technically, in
Yeah,
Oxford?
technically each house is kind of its own individual thing. But yes, technically there's an LLC on the other end of the lease. Yep.
Okay. And are there any benefits to doing it like that outside of maybe price adjustment?
I mean, that's how Oxford House does it. So so
Right,
that's how
okay.
they create the entities. They do that. That's how they do it. We either like it as a landlord or we don't on that subject.
Yeah.
So that's for our business. There's your answer there.
Well, that's good, because then it brings me to the next topic, and that's kind of how you got involved with Oxford House. What called you there, and um, what about recovery makes you go in that direction?
Love it, man. Man, so like I said, that vision I had when I was really just going to make passive income in real estate so that I could serve at church. At the time, let's be honest, I was like, I'm going to make passive income at church, or outside of church, so that I can sing at church. It comes back to that vision, man. The last 9 years, God has brought me through every, there was times where I was frustrated that it wasn't working my way. There was times that there's plenty of times that I was frustrated it wasn't working my way, now that I say that out loud. But, looking back on it, he was taking me through everything I needed to learn for this moment,
Mm,
And so how I got involved with the Oxford House was, it was, I was on the back end of doing some business with with some flips and some things with some buddies from church, and I was kind of on the backside of that. And I take Mondays in my business, and I serve people. So I love the book Giftology and what it's going to do
mm,
to my Mondays. But I serve people. So however I can. Like this Monday, I called my friend Andrea White. She's an agent for a big developer up here in the Northwest, and Andrea, I called her and was like, hey, what can I do for you? I can run some numbers. I can bring some lunch to your office. How can I serve you guys today? And she's like, well, actually, I got this house that this nonprofit wants to lease out. She's like, you know anything about Oxford House? And I'd never heard of them before in my life.
mm,
So I go over there, and to be honest, at the time, it was interesting to me, but it's a gorgeous house in a really nice neighborhood in the town that I grew up in, where I know the mayor and I know everybody, right? And so it's a really, really nice house. And I would never guess that somebody would buy this house. And in my mindset currently, back then, it was like, you're going to move drug addicts into this house? Like
mm,
my wife would want to buy this house. And like,
right.
I may or may not be able to buy it for her. So you guys want this house? So that was interesting to me on that day. And then, God had already gone before me and lined up the next steps, where I think at the time I could have definitely scraped together the capital to buy it. It was a $600,000 house, and we needed to put like 30 grand into it. And at the time I could have scraped together the capital and done it, but I would have been buying one rental house with capital that I had set aside to like do some flips,
Mm,
or honestly, not even do some flips, but to like, that's capital I really keep set aside to make sure that my family makes it through, whatever thing I'm doing in real estate at the
yeah.
time. And so I hadn't really found my niche yet. It was kind of like whatever good deals were coming at me is what I was doing. And so I was looking at it, and lo and behold, like the next couple of days is when I got together with my now partner, and we were getting our families together for the first time. And he looked at his wife, and we started talking Oxford House. He's like, babe, didn't your uncle live in an Oxford House? And she's like, yeah, yes. I'm like, he
Yeah.
speaks highly of Oxford House, actually. And he's a very successful dude. And so that like piqued Travis' interest. He's like, I didn't know that they work with landlords. And by the end of that day, Travis is like, dude, I'll make sure that we can figure out how money comes forever
Mm.
for this. So I was like, that was fairly new to me at that point. Honestly, mindset 2 years ago is vastly different than now.
Yeah.
Fast forward when we've had some fun getting some houses for these
Mm,
guys.
mm,
So, but at the time, when he said that, I was like, yeah, no, okay. And
wow.
I looked at really, we, Bet and I went to God and looked at everything where we were at. And it's like, no, I can shut off everything else in my life right now, and I can go in this direction, and I can just do this for a while. I can just continue to learn how to serve Oxford House, and we can just buy houses. So
Wow.
that's what I've done since then. However I can.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So it's been 2 years. And
Yep, July 2nd. Travis was in the hospital um, with his second kid.
wow.
July 2nd of 2019 is when we bought that first house.
Oh my gosh. And
Yep.
what has transpired since? How many houses do you currently have?
We just
Uh,
crossed over 30 and working on a bunch more. So,
wow. Wow.
yep.
And you're still able to sing?
Still able to sing. I think my voice might be worn out today. I've
Yeah.
been nonstop on the phone. Oh,
Wow.
but I can still sing. Maybe not currently.
Yeah. Yeah. But you do, so you're able to do all this and then still find time for the most important things, which is family, God, and choir, right? Yeah.
Well, I would say I'm not singing at church currently. We're gonna see what that looks like when I move to Texas next month,
Amen.
though.
Amen. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. So how does this Does anything change? Because yeah, that's something that I'd like to touch upon. Is Jared is moving down to Texas to join some other kings and expand his faith a little bit more. How does that affect everything at Oxford House? How does that affect your relationship with Travis, if at all? Or how what goes through your head when you're making a big leap like that?
Uh, frankly, none of that. You know,
Yeah.
as you get to know me, like this,
Right.
it's pretty apparent God's calling me to
Mm,
Texas, and so
mm,
uh, and when that happens, it's kind of like, you know, everybody knows me.
yeah.
Love y'all. I'll be in Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think it's gonna be great for our relationship with Oxford House. I'm gonna be centrally located in the United States, and we're buying them, you know, all over the place in Florida, up to looking at New Jersey now, and and we have some in Washington and California, so we got the four corners covered, and so I'll be kind of planted in the middle, and I can hop on a plane, you know, kind of anywhere pretty quick, and so I think that's good. My wife is very, very excited to live there, so I'm pumped for that. Travis and I, you know, we just hung out for 3 days in Washington D.C. Um, at this Oxford House World Convention, and that's definitely the most we've seen each other in a year and a half. So
Wow.
we see each other on Zoom calls all the time. He's working from his lake house, you know, 25 minutes from me now, and if I'm across the country, it's kind of going to feel the same. And I might have to fly up to get on his boat because he lives on my favorite lake up here. Um, but yeah, no, it'll be really, really good, man. I'm excited.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm excited for you. That's awesome. And yeah, everybody likes a friend with a boat. That's much better than owning a boat too.
Yeah, exactly. He's got a nice one too. And like I said, he
Uh,
lives on the lake.
wow. That's good, man. That's good. And yeah, that convention. So that's Oxford House, but are there other investors in your position doing what you do, or is Impact Cashflow kind of the big
No,
wig?
we're definitely not like you know, the investors. So
Okay.
Oxford, we
Right.
have 30 houses. We're very, very excited to, you know, to continue to help them expand where they need us to. But they currently lease out, I think, 3,200 homes
Wow.
nationwide.
Okay.
They've been around since 1975. They work with landlords all over the place.
Mm,
Yeah, we are blessed to be in position to help them, you know, around the country where they need it. But there's a lot of, you know, pockets of investors who work with them, people locally who just support them as a nonprofit and support their chapters and houses and things like that. They are they're a big organization at this
yeah.
point. There were 1,700 people at the convention in DC. It
Wow.
was fun.
That's awesome, man. That is awesome. So I guess I want to be cognizant of your time. I know you've had quite the day, and I do appreciate you coming on here and sharing some knowledge. But a couple last minute things. We've talked a little bit about mindset. What have been some of the mindset shifts that you've had to go through in your real estate journey, whether that be in the last 2 years or even before that when you were serving as a broker and a realtor and a partner, as you mentioned?
Mindset, man, mindset's my game. So there's been
Yeah.
a lot of mindset shifts, a lot. I come from a very, you know, blue collar family, and there's a lot of mindset shifts from that to to where we're at. I would say one of the biggest ones recently, they used to hold me back, that I think holds a lot of investors back, and I think that could help people who listen, is um, money is so abundant. It is
Mm,
not even funny. When a great real estate deal, there is always money for that deal. And if whether you've heard that one time or 100 times, and it's sunk in, that took me a long time to sink in. And what that mindset did to me was it made me to where I was going to people at church and going to friends and going to family members and acquaintances who I knew had a little bit of capital or some retirement capital or whatever that looked like, where I was guessing that they had some capital, right? And I would have that conversation. Hey, I'm looking at flipping these houses and things like that. And that mindset, I almost had a mindset like I was begging them,
mhm.
like I needed their money or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And now the mindset shift is like, look, I'm a great operator. I've returned a lot of investment capital to people. I've made them a fair amount of money, and there's a track record there. And now that's a blessing. Someone
Yep.
can make 12 to 15% return on their capital that they would just have sitting there. That's a big blessing to them. So I go into those conversations now like, okay, like, somebody's definitely going to give you this money. If you'd like to make this return, that's awesome. It's there for you. Otherwise, it will show up somewhere else, and it always has and always does. I've done a lot of properties at this point, and I've never spent my own money on them. So the money is out there, and it is abundant in every direction as long as you know your numbers.
Amen. That's awesome, man. Dude, I gotta say, when you're telling this story, every part of it, it's like I can see God's hand on it all. Like it's like and I know you do too, but I just want you to know that I see it, and it's inspiring, like how amazing some of these things play out, whether it be the money or the partners or that Oxford house, or just like some decisions that you've made. It's exciting. I'm inspired by it, and it's motivating too. So I guess I do want to ask, like, what was that like when you were going through it? Could you tell at the time that it was happening, or is it now kind of as you reflect a little bit more, you realize it, or a little bit of both?
Yeah, I think a little bit of both. I think there's some confidence and reps in anything, right? So I think maybe it's a mix of like, I wasn't super confident in doing the deal and making the numbers work, and the contractors that I had, or like, dude, I mean, there's definitely something about doing reps. I mean, at this point, if I were to get a piece of dirt like I did, a piece of land like I did, one of my first deals that I ever did with my capital partners that were buddies from church. If I were to do that now, I would say that the whole project would probably cost, I don't know, $240,000 and take me about 8 weeks. And first deal I ever did, it cost about $330,000 and took about 9 months. So I mean, there's certainly a confidence factor of doing deals, getting repetition, knowing what you're doing and knowing what you're looking at. So I think when you're in the middle of that, it's this mix of like, oh man, do I know what I'm doing over here? Or and you're trying to tell these people that you do know what you're doing, when you're like, I think that's the entrepreneur spirit, where you're just like, I'm gonna crush this no matter what. That first deal, dude, when the things weren't working, I had a 220 excavator, which is a large machine, delivered there that I had never driven before in my life. And I'm like, they just drive the truck off, and I got the keys, and I'm like there by myself. I'm like, so, I mean, you don't even have to have a license for this thing. Let's go see what it can do. And I'm pretty athletic, and I'd driven like at that point, like a forklift and a bobcat like a few times in my life. And I'm on this 220 excavator, and I'm like, oh, this is actually easier. Like same controls, it's just a bigger machine. And so I'm not kidding. I knocked over an acre and a half of 100-foot tall trees. And it was, that was, you don't know what you don't know. The moral of the story is, you don't know what you don't know. So then I was not super confident in telling somebody I was great with their money. Now I'm like, all right, I've made a lot of mistakes and we've still won. So now I can cut all the corners and do that with confidence. So it's a mix of both, I think.
Yeah. But you were doing it back then, right? You were saying, I'm great with your money kind of thing. And then
yeah, well, I definitely had confidence. So I wasn't lying to Eric at all. He knew who I was and knew what we were doing, right? So Eric and Peter, shout out to them. I highly doubt they'll listen, but shout out to them, two of my first investor buddies. They, I was real with them. I am who I am, but I always exude confidence. That's
amen.
I know I'm gonna figure it out.
Right, dude. Wow, that's awesome, man. I love that, because I don't know. That's kind of what I'm going through right now. I don't want to.
You're gonna figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. We're pulling the parachute as we fall, kind of thing. So
yeah, I've done that like 11 times. So here's a quick story while we finish up on that. So for people, so this what I'm talking about. I'm finishing up some projects with those guys when the Oxford House found me. If we go back a little bit, we are it was the winter of 2017 going into 2018 where I'll preface this with, I'm deathly scared of heights. Like I do not, my legs will shake, my stomach gets queasy. I do not like being on a roof where you're 12 feet above the ground even. And so, this winter, like it was, things kind of weren't working as well as I wanted them to with this construction company that we had put together. And it just wasn't working that well. So it's like on the backside of like, all right, I have to shift gears. We have to do this a different way. We're not getting things done fast enough, or it's just costing us too much money one way or shape or form.
Right.
And, it's not working. So I was on the backside of that. Well, that winter, it was very apparent that my buddy Jared needed a place to live, and we had this trailer. I invited him over here, and I didn't really know what I was going to do for 3 years ago for like Christmas. I didn't necessarily have the funds to get through that. We were like tied up in the business and other things. I didn't really have the funds to get through the winter. So my buddy Jared that moved into here, he's like, hey, my son always wanted to start a Christmas tree lighting company. And I'm like, well, I mean, I live on the highway. Like there's right now on the other side of you, there's 40 cars passing in front of my house. I live on the highway on Camino Island where there's one way on the island and one way off. I was like, well, let's make a sign. Let's put it up. So it was 3 years ago where I was installing Christmas lights to make it through the winter. We did pretty well on installing Christmas lights because the sign worked and we got a bunch of calls, but and I hated every second of it. I never even want to go on a ladder again. I will hire people to go on a ladder for the rest of my life. But even then I knew I was going to figure it out. Right.
Yeah. Right.
And so it wasn't too long after that where I think that was God going like, okay, you're ready, for this thing I've been preparing you for. So, but yeah, that was only 3 winters ago, dude. I was putting Christmas lights on houses.
Dude, oh my gosh. You told me that story before, but I just figured that might have been earlier on when you were really just getting started. But that was
no, that's whatever, dude. It's a whatever it takes all the way mentality until you find your thing,
Yeah.
At that point, I hadn't found my niche. So when I'm looking at where's cash flow coming in, when Jared said that, I was like, yeah, dude. Like I was thinking we needed to hire a kid to do it so that I could make money and run the books, but we couldn't necessarily find a kid, and he needed help. So I was installing Christmas lights.
Wow. Yeah. Let's go. Come on. Who knows? Maybe I'll be doing that in a couple months.
Hey, not a bad business model. There's a couple of guys in the King's Council who do that.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, let's talk, whoever you are.
Yeah. Dude, another guy up the road here, they're a pretty good sized contractor, but they bid over $1 million for the city of Bellevue lights last year.
Wow.
There's a lot of money in putting Christmas lights up.
Yeah. Boston definitely invests in that. I'll tell you that much. So
yep.
Wow, that's good. Well, this is awesome, Jared. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the laughs and your story. It's awesome. But I will close with asking you how people can get involved, if at all, in Oxford House. I know you're not short of any money, and you do pretty well in getting that. But if somebody's looking to help out the people in recovery, is there any way that they can expand the mission?
Yeah, oxfordhouse.org. You can always give to them and learn about them. That's who we work with there. For us, I feel like I'm on a mission recruiting for the King's Council. So you want more info, just come into the King's Council.
Come on, man. Let's go. I love it. And I'll echo that, man. This faith-based entrepreneurship, it's life-changing. There's amazing men and women that are really on fire for God and on fire for business and just helping serve each and every person on this earth. So let me know if you're interested. Reach out to Jared on Instagram, Galde Thoughts, right?
I think I changed it a while ago. It's just my name, Jared Galde. Okay.
Jared Galde. He upgraded.
Yep.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. King's Council, kingscouncil.com. Like I said, can't go wrong. You really can't. So Jared, thank you, bro. I appreciate you. All the love in the world for you. And I do really love what you're doing. So thank you for your time and your energy and your love.
Yeah, bro. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Of course. I'll talk to you soon.